everyone. Oh my goodness. Hello. Wait, okay, it's on. We are doing a fundraiser for Juneteenth today. We are fundraising for the Trans Women of Color Collective. Who wants to be the first to donate so then I can make sure that my alerts work? Who wants to be the first to donate for our Pride fundraiser? This is also a tax write-off, actually, let me just say. So whatever you donate, make sure that you save the receipts for it for your income tax return next year because you can write it off. You guys are laughing, but it's true. Like, everybody should do that. It's like, I think a $500 maximum. Like, everybody should take that. Like, you know, if you're able to, everybody should do that $500 charity write-off every year. They should. I'm pretty sure it's like a $500. And I think like the $500 charity write-off, I think you don't even need a receipt or some shit. I can't even remember. Maybe you can write off more, but I don't know. I know that you can do a $500 one with like, I'm just saying. So if anybody wants to, oh shit, it did work. Oh my God, wait, hold on. Okay, so the alert did not, how do I get this damn alert to work? Oh, period. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jaguar and Bumsy Bear. Thank you so much. Everybody, please clap for Jaguar and Bumsy Bear. Like, live updates? Is that what I need to do? Oh, wait, we already got... Hold on. Oh, my goodness. Look at you guys. Thank you guys so much. We're already at $200. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Jaguar, Bumsy Bear, Anonymous, Gen X Cat Lady, and Garsh, guys. Thank you so much. Beam me up, Scotty. Everybody, please cap. Thank you so much, Justin. Wow, look at that. We are already at $240. Thank you guys so much for helping fundraise. And happy Juneteenth, everybody. I'm excited to honor Juneteenth and learn. I had a piece of toast, a protein shake, a quesadilla. I had a boiled egg. We're almost to the goal. And you know what? Whenever we get to the goal, I'm going to raise the goal to 2,000. Period. I got catfish yesterday and still took the load. Happy Pride, tailbone breaker. God, and then in the midst of all of it, like there was like a salesperson that showed up at my house, you know, and honestly, like I'm really bad at like telling the salespeople to just like enough, you know, like no, I won't buy. But then like a salesperson like showed up at my house and, you know, they're like pretty charismatic, I guess. You know, like they knew how to make it hard for you to like get away. And it's like, oh my gosh, the way that like the feminism left me so quick. And I'm like, I'd have to ask my husband, you know, the feminism just left me so quick. I'm like, I need to ask my husband about that. This is the fundraiser that we've chosen for Pride Month, and it is also Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. So we are fundraising for Trans Women of Color. Trans Women of Color Collective is a grassroots global initiative led by trans and gender nonconforming people of color. We work to uplift the lived narratives, experiences, and leadership of trans and gender nonconforming people of color, their families, and comrades while building collective liberation for all oppressed people through healing and restorative justice. Our work is grounded in organizing, culture, and care. We focus on building spaces where trans people not only survive, but lead, heal, and thrive. Yeah, and I guess they have a program that's actually based out of Kansas City as well. I wonder if I could even volunteer.
Help solve the recent shooting murder in the case that left a transgender woman dead.
That a transgender woman has been killed in the city of Jacksonville. To announce charges against a man police say is responsible for the death.
Oh God, I'm like, I didn't realize this would have me like in tears.
Of a transgender
but let's
woman.
continue.
I'll show you the nerve that this shooter has. Behind me is a JSO substation, and the shooting happened right here, just feet away at this Quality Inn and Suites.
Hello, my name is Nyla Foster, and I'm the executive director of Trans Women of Color Collective. Diddy Pearson was a Black trans woman. She was beautiful, full of life. We loved her. She was our sister.
When thinking and sitting here doing this now and thinking of my little sister, she was full of life. She was joyous.
She was a mentor to me. She inspired me to be brave. She inspired me to walk outside, to walk down the street, even with people looking at us and gawking us. She was like, Nyla, go for it. Like, go. What are you being scared of? She was courageous.
She was someone that you would definitely want to be around. She's someone when you were down, she's going to do something to try to figure out how to cheer you up. It was her goal. She was like, we ain't doing this. Let's go. We're going to punch it, do something.
She had friends, family, and a life worth living. Unfortunately, on Christmas Eve of 2011, she was murdered. This is why we created Dee Dee's house.
In Kansas City, trans women, especially Black trans women, faces crisis after crisis. There is no mercy shelters available for us.
A lot of places are home, you never know what a person might do at their breaking point. And it's like, no one cares, no one's there.
Emergency housing for trans women is important because they face a different level of discrimination, and there is different harmful situations that they face being in the street.
Especially when it comes to the PLC trans community out here in Kansas City. A lot of the youth tend to do certain things that they don't want to do in order to get housing, and it affects many ages ranging from 18 all the way up to
not just ranging from 18. There are LGBTQ youth that are kicked out of their home and they are forced into childhood prostitution. Like, it is sadly not an uncommon thing at all. Not even just 18-year-olds, like, and under.
30s, 40s, and sometimes
we need so many more resources for, LGBTQ youth, trans youth.
It's to make people feel safer and closer to their community.
Trans people belong, trans people deserve, and Dee Dee's house is just the beginning.
Dee Dee's house needs your support now. Donate now. Please go to twocc.org.
So yeah, that is the organization that we are fundraising for today for Juneteenth and for Pride Month. So I appreciate it so much, everybody who's donated what they can. It adds up. We're already at 676. Thank you so much, Beth Metal. Thank you. Just like the women on The View were calling out JD Vance on yesterday, like, this administration is actively erasing culture, actively erasing Black history. And I think that's why it's so important that, that's why days like this are so important. I didn't know that Juneteenth was a thing until like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. Honestly, I'm very uneducated about it. I'm going to be real. It's embarrassing. This is a really good day to watch, like, stuff celebrating Black history. And let me say, like, emphasize on celebrating. I just don't feel like it's appropriate for me to, like, this is a day for celebration. I don't want to, show, I don't want to, I'm trying to think of how to word it. Like, I don't want to do like a Rachel Dolezal type thing, I don't want to be like a white person that's like, fetishizing Black suffering. So, like I said, emphasize on celebration. Like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? I guess I just want to show what's appropriate is what I'm saying. Not that I want to ignore Black suffering, but I just want to commemorate and acknowledge, and honor.
Juneteenth, short for June 19th, is a day commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. It's a holiday that has been celebrated since 1866 and represents a critical turning point in American history. Open up a classroom history book, and the author might say that slavery ended on January 1st, 1863. The day when President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, it established that all enslaved people in the Confederate States in the rebellion against the Union shall be then, thenceforth, and forever free. Of course, the proclamation stated this, but it did not instantly free any enslaved people. It would take another 2 years for slavery to end in the United States. In Texas, slavery continued uninterrupted during the Civil War. The state wasn't involved in large-scale battles, and there wasn't a real presence of Union troops. 2 months after the war came to a close, U.S. General Gordon Granger arrived on Texas soil and read General Order Number 3. The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. Granger's arrival marked the freedom for 250,000 enslaved people in the state. Although emancipation didn't happen overnight, celebrations broke out among newly freed Black people. Juneteenth was born. The holiday wasn't widely celebrated across the country, but the traditions continue to grow.
God, can I just say I'm fine. I've been listening to this audiobook of People's History for like a while now. I mean, it's like a 30+ hour audiobook. It's a really long one. And God, this stuff I was munching on spicy. Yeah, the Howard Zinn one. It's a really interesting read, but it's so much information. But I'm finally getting to civil rights, and the things that Black communities were able to accomplish during like the civil rights movements, honestly, just insane. Like the level of like organizing and grassroots movements, and like the ideas, the planning, and the solidarity. Such a powerful movement. I mean, yeah, really just like insane what Black communities were able to accomplish during the civil rights movements. And I think that it should be looked to more. Like I always say, like I think that one of the things that I feel like we don't do enough on the left, like in our socialist movements, is I think that we undervalue like the importance of like church and spirituality. And I think that that was something that Black communities really leaned on during the civil rights movements, because it was one of the places that they could organize, in Black churches, right? Like I think that's where a lot of like their marches and stuff like that like would start, at the different Black community churches and whatnot. And then, like the white churches, it's just like, oh my God, get me out of this hell.
In the 1960s civil rights movement, some concluded that nonviolence and the focus on integration had failed. Rather than integrating society, they wanted to fundamentally change it, and they didn't renounce violence in self-defense. Their cry was Black Power rather than we shall overcome. One of the most prominent of these groups was the Black Panther Party. It was also perhaps one of the most misunderstood and most vilified by the white establishment. For Black History Month, that's the topic of tonight's Hidden Histories. The Black Panther Party was revolutionary in both its goals and its tactics. It began in 1966 in response to both the assassination of Malcolm X, a leading advocate of Black separatism, and the killing of an unarmed Black 16-year-old named Matthew Johnson during a San Francisco police stop. Their 10-point program leaned heavily on Marxism. They saw Black American struggles as part of a global liberation movement.
I'm trying to think of how to word this like correctly. But it is definitely true that what really made them start targeting the leaders of the civil rights movement, such as, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and shit, was because they were socialists, was because they were Marxists. That is literally why the CIA truly started targeting them. Not just because of equality, but because they wanted to push it even further. Like, they knew, like the establishment knew that they didn't want to stop at equality. They wanted social programs, they wanted reparations, they wanted socialism. And it's true, the CIA killed a lot of the leaders of the civil rights movement because of that. It wasn't just like the equality. It was that they were talking about class consciousness and they were starting to unite communities. It just, posed a threat to the establishment. I really need to read more about the way the CIA literally targeted civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King. I guess his autobiography is a pretty short read and it's really good. I've been meaning to read it.
Breakfasts for school children, free health care, and voter registration drives. They established schools in 9 cities. But it was the group's paramilitary displays that drew the white establishment's attention and alarm. Members patrolled neighborhoods in black jackets and black berets, openly and legally carrying weapons. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover called the party the greatest threat to internal security and ordered surveillance to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the Black Panthers.
They would did you guys know, Martin Luther King would get smeared, Martin Luther King Jr. would get smeared constantly as being an adulterer and being like a sex crazed freak and shit like that. I guess that he was married. He was in a relationship with his wife, but from my understanding, they had some sort of open relationship agreement or something like that. So he had intimacy with other women at times. I don't even know if that's true because of the propaganda. I just know that one of the things that they would regularly do to MLK was smear him as an adulterer and a sex addict and shit.
Plagued by internal disputes and power struggles, the party was essentially defunct by the late 1970s. It was formally disbanded in 1982. Donna Murch is an associate professor of history at Rutgers University and the author of Living for the City, Migration, Education, and the Rise of the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California. Donna, from your perspective, what is the greatest legacy of the Black Panther?
A youth movement, a young organization composed mainly of people in their late teens and early 20s, working class youth that had migrated from the South, who found themselves having unprecedented access to high school and college in California.
And that's also something I feel like we need to talk about more is it's also true that a big part of the civil rights movement is how they would organize a lot of high school aged, younger people, right? I'm pretty sure that they would regularly have high schools just high schools would just walk out, and I don't know, I guess what I was going to say was I guess turnout amongst young people as far as our politics go, I guess is really, really bad. It's really, really low. Younger people are turning out less and less for political shit than any other generation or something. And it's we really need to change that. We really need to change that if we want to win. We need to get these kids involved as well because it's their future.
And out of that.
But I think that a lot of young people are just I think that they have accepted, sadly, I think that they there's a sense of hopelessness, I think, amongst a lot of younger people.
They helped form a study group and create a new type of organization and youth movement that was focused on serving the community. It started with confronting police violence because that's what the community saw as its single biggest problem. This is the era of the urban rebellions. The party is formed a year after Watts, and they were willing to perform a form of activism in order to empower others. But very quickly after the police patrols, the Panthers shifted into something called survival pending revolution, which meant founding free breakfast programs, freedom schools, and the longest running institution of the Black Panther Party was a school in Oakland that ran for almost a decade. And they actually looked a lot to Vietnam, to China, and to a vision of anti-colonialism and a socialist state that would serve the people. So I think that's one of the most important contexts. The other thing I really want to stress, because the popular representations of the Panthers is wrong. So many people find out about the Panthers through Forrest Gump. They're represented as anti-white Black militants. But the truth is that the party, of all the 60s organizations, they had the strongest strongest ties to creating a multiracial coalition, what was called in this period the Rainbow Coalition that Jesse Jackson later picks up on.
And like that very thing that she's talking about right there is what had the CIA fucking sending off the alarm signals for real. Like I was saying, the fact that they weren't, you know, it was about uniting working class people. It was about uniting all working class people. And that's what really had, you know, the establishment, the CIA, it's what had the alarm bells going off. Because since really, truly, like one thing that I've learned from listening to this Howard Zinn book is since the inception of America, it has always been the elites trying to figure out how to keep working class whites from uniting with working class people of color. That has literally been their play since the fucking beginning of the United States, and probably longer.
And this was incredibly threatening to the government of the time, you know, to J. Edgar Hoover in particular, because you basically saw a multiracial coalition uniting to stop anti-communism and violence in the global South. So I think that would also be the Panthers' legacy, a model of multiracial coalition building.
And my parents fall for it. Like, Truth Nuke, though, is like a lot of us fall for it. I think whenever we talk about like the social, you know, like social politics, I guess, like, yeah, of course, like the conservatives like play into a lot of like social politics shit and like fear mongering about trans and Black people and, you know, immigrants and shit like that. Of course, they play it up, but you have to also acknowledge that I feel like the liberals play it up as well, but in a different way. You know, like the establishment liberals and the establishment Republicans, the establishment in general, the uniparty, they love it whenever they have us like arguing fucking identity politics and, you know, about like the one trans high school student in fucking Idaho or where the fuck ever. They love it whenever they can make that like the focus and not things like fixing our fucking healthcare system. You know, like, I think that we also have to acknowledge that it's not just the fucking conservative establishment that plays into that shit. The liberal establishment does as well. I feel like that's also like whenever you're trying to get through to some of like your family members that like play into the social politics, I feel like that's also a good in, is like acknowledging, well, you're just doing what the uniparty wants. Like, yeah, the conservatives play up the social politics, but also the liberals do it. Why is that? Why do they want us talking about, you know, the two trans people or the two trans high school students in whatever fucking state and not about how we can't afford groceries?
You mentioned the free breakfast program that they ran in communities, which is not that far apart from the federal free breakfast program that's being run now. But there was also a political vision in that, wasn't there?
Yes, that's such an important point. They were arguing that the social welfare state as it existed was not serving the people, and that they, as teenagers, could provide free breakfast. And when they started the Freedom Schools, so many of the low-income children who went to Panther schools had not had breakfast, and they couldn't learn. And so they were shaming the state. And although we don't have the direct documentary evidence, it is thought by many scholars that that shaming of the state prompted the issuing of free school lunch.
This woman, oh my gosh, she's making so many good points. Like, we don't talk about that enough either. Like how are these kids supposed to be able to focus on learning on an empty stomach? You know, like, no, every child should have, you know, their school lunch, school breakfast provided, both school breakfast and school lunch. How are you supposed to learn on an empty stomach? Why are we setting up our, you know, America's children for failure? I was thinking about like how in high school, you know, like whenever I was like 15, 16, like I really did start to follow politics. And, you know, at the time, yeah, I was libbed up and shit. But I guess it just had me thinking about how like, you know, like I feel a lot of like wealthier families, like, you know, and like their children and like, you know, it's like they're kind of like groomed to be political leaders. You know what I mean? Like the elite and like their family members, their children, they're like, oh, you're going to lead, you know, the country. They're kind of like, you know, set up for that. And I feel like they probably start thinking about taking like political office and stuff like that at a much younger age, right? And I guess I was thinking about how like, damn, I really wish that whenever I was younger and in high school and I started getting interested in politics, I really wish that there was like, you know, some sort of like program or something like pushing me. And, you know, like the other, you know, because it's like I went to like, you know, a Midwestern high school. It's like all working class. It's all kids of working class families, you know, and instead of, you know, like being set up like, yeah, you could be a leader in this community. It's like, oh, go join the military. You know what I mean? About how there's like all this initiatives out, like these like working class kind of schools to like get these kids in the fucking military and shit, but there's no initiatives to be like, yeah, you can lead the community. I don't know. It's just something that I was thinking about yesterday. Like, damn, you know, if I had ever been made to feel like, you know, like that could be a path for me. But I feel like whenever you grow up like working class, you just don't feel like, oh, I can lead the city. I can be president someday. You know, of course, they always fucking tell you that. But I feel like even whenever they were telling me that shit in like kindergarten, I'm like, I know I'm not going to be fucking president, girl. Like, I'm 5, but I'm not dumb. We are so close to 1,500. Can we do it? Can we get to 1,500? Like I was saying, it is a tax write-off. Can I don't know if you can write it off in Australia, but I know you can write it off in I know you can write it off in America. That's all I know. Shit, wait. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Hold on, wait. Ah! Stop. Oh my god, wait. How did that happen? OPV, thank you, OPV. Did I miss anyone else? Or OPV just rounded it out for us. Oh my god, everybody clap. Thank you. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. My head is fucking killing me today. I just have such a bad fucking migraine. But I'm going to rough it out for a little bit longer for you guys. I am going to raise the goal to 2,000 because we're going to take everything that we can for the Trans Women of Color Collective. So we are going to raise the goal again. We are going to raise the goal again. Hold on. If I can figure out how to do it. Okay, 9 models on racism and privilege in the modeling industry.
It just breaks my heart to see the amount of hatred out there in the world. I just think it's messed up how the refugees are viewed. But my job is really just to show you guys that we're capable of doing anything and everything that someone who's born in the Western world is doing.
Being an immigrant and a refugee for me means it made me who I am, and growing up, it's a hard thing to realize. Things like why people seek refuge in a different country, and why do people move around and things like that.
It's not something that somebody wakes up one day and says, oh, I'm gonna be a refugee today because why not?
I listened to this podcast about like the 60s swoop in Canada, which refers to whenever they were like displacing a lot of like Native children from their parents and in foster homes and stuff in Canada, as well as like boarding schools. Very, very sick stuff that went on. And, you know, it makes me think about how important like I guess like, you know, just like this idea that people would want to leave their homes, like people would want to leave like where they have known as home because they just want to, you know, like it doesn't like it comes out of necessity. It doesn't come out of any want to do that. And I guess like how it makes me think of, you know, how in this podcast that was talking about the 60s swoop, you know, there's very high suicide rates amongst like these native populations that were forced to assimilate basically to like white culture and like pushed out of like, you know, their homeland, like where they're from, and like how that fucks, you know, like taking you away from your roots and taking you away from your identity. Like it's a very, you know, like I guess I'm not speaking from experience because I've never had that happen to me, but it's, you know, from what I've learned, it is a very difficult thing to survive through for a lot of people. Just like this complete uproot from, you know, their homeland, which they see as part of their identity, and how there's just like this narrative that they want to leave and they want to just go to, nobody fucking wants to go to the UK.
That's not where my story ends. That's not where, you know, my life has to end. I found my way out, and so many people do. And I want those people to be extremely proud. I always say I'll always be a refugee, no matter where I end up in life.
It's funny how like there's different realities as a model. Like if you were not a black model, you just get to be a model, get to be sexy, get to be on yachts, get to do whatever it is that you want to do and be carefree. If you're a black model, all of a sudden you're the pioneer for your race.
Also, the thing is, we can't go anywhere without someone saying you're black.
Yeah, every day.
They can never be.
It's like I'm not just a model. It's like you got to be the black.
You know, and that is something, like what she's talking about is something that, you know, like I feel like as white people, we need to check ourselves on, because it's something that will often happen. Like I've seen it happen even in this community where it's like, oh, something happened. Where's the black spokesperson? Okay, you're the black spokesperson. What's your opinion on this? Like, you know, you know what I mean? Like, it's something that we need to check ourselves on and not like put that level of, I guess, like expectation on someone. I think that's considered a microaggression. It is.
It makes you feel like you're the only reason why you're incorporated into the conversation is because you're black.
I don't have to worry if a makeup artist is going to have my color or if a makeup artist is going to be able to do my hair.
The modeling industry insisting on shaving black women's hair because they don't want to learn how to style it. Really? I've never thought of it that way. You know, I've noticed that I've noticed that there will be like a lot of like, you know, bald black women in modeling. And I've just always thought, oh, it's because their facial structure is completely perfect. They have my white ass supporting them. What is this? Lush Under Fire for Pride display showing tiger with top surgery scars. I don't get like I guess like trans furry representation. I guess I'm just it is kind of confusing. It's just like I don't like, it's like not because of the top surgery or the trans, but I guess maybe the tiger makes it confusing. I don't know. Oh my goodness. Frame Shift. Thank you so much, Frame Shift. Oh my goodness. Road to 2,000. We're going to do it. We're going to get 2,000. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for real. But yeah, about the trans tiger. I guess I'm just like, who thought of this? Is this merch? Right? Like, is this a mascot? Like, where's the soap? The mural is part of a citywide pride campaign. I designed and painted this tiger to support and represent trans folks who have undergone top surgery, myself included. Being proud of your scars, aka stripes, is something everyone can take inspiration from, regardless of your journey. Okay, I guess like that makes more sense now that I'm reading it with like Sorry, the music. That makes more sense now that I'm like reading it about like the tiger and like the scars, aka stripes. Like, okay, that makes more sense. But like for a minute, I was just struggling there. I was like, is this about furries? The markings on the tiger resemble chest scars from trans men who have had after-top surgery, which critics said encourages teenage girls to cut off their healthy breasts. Now, you can't be cutting off these teen girls' perfectly healthy, good breasts. Like, okay, what the fuck are you talking about, weirdo? Mastectomies are not a fashion statement, an identity marker or something to be celebrated, she wrote. One of my besties, she's like one of those girls, very, very well endowed. You know, she's like a big booby girl, you know, to the point that it's painful. And she had a reduction. She had a reduction, and, you know, she just talked about like how annoying it was going through like that whole process, and how the doctor like refused to even remove as much tissue as she wanted. You know, like, oh, I'm not going to go any lower than a C. And she wanted more tissue removed. Like she wanted small boobs. You know, it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of like, I feel like I'm like, what am I even trying to say? Like I said, I'm just high, but it's like, not everybody likes boobs. You know, like having boobs isn't for everyone, you know, and like for sure, like getting top surgery is affirming for, you know, a trans man. But I feel like it's like there's also women that are like, get these fucking honkers off of me, girl. And I feel like they're also invalidated in other ways. Just be like, it's just this weird like fucking obsession that these people have with fucking boobs and shit, you know. My sister got a breast reduction. It's so normal. The way that people will talk about like breast reductions or getting like, it's like this cultural obsession with like fucking big titties and shit, where it's just like they're you know, it's like a fucking organ. I don't know. And what about men with gynecomastia from doing mainly things like steroids to get jacked, and they get surgery to have that breast tissue removed? I don't know much about that, but that sounds about right. No parent should allow their child near your stores. She called the display dangerous and sick. It's like, oh my God, like if you're a parent and your child sees that and is like, Mommy, what's going on with this tiger? Why does it have stripes there? It's just like, what do you say? I don't know. You could just be like, that's just where the tiger has stripes. It's like the way these like conservatives, they're like pretending it's like you have to go into like a full explanation or something. I don't know. It's just like, it's like if I saw this in public, I don't even think that it would like register with me. Mastectomies are not something to be celebrated. Are they saying that cis women should be ashamed of their mastectomy scars? The evidence of their survival, their strength, trans pride and mastectomy pride. It's a beautiful artwork. No, period. They ate with that. Get them again. Anyway. Oh shit, thank you. Did we just get another 10? Thank you. Thank you so much. Wait, who is that? Gritty Girl, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the 10. Thank you guys so much for helping me fundraise for Trans Women of Color Collective. Thank you to everybody who donated, and also everybody who cheered on the donators. Thank you guys for hanging out today. Like I said, I'm sorry I was late today. it was kind of a rough day, but so grateful for our fundraising. We almost hit 2,000. We're so close. If somebody wants to get in another, like, hurry. I hope I wasn't a letdown today. Like, it has been such an off day for me, but I am really proud that we were able to raise this money. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thank you guys for hanging out. Bye, everyone.